Let's talk about tariffs. A tax on goods coming into a country like a cover charge at the border. The idea? Make foreign goods pricier so people buy more American-made products. President Trump has wielded tariffs as his favorite tool, using them to protect jobs and punish countries he sees as unfair. His logic: other nations have taken advantage of the US for years, selling us cheap goods while blocking ours. So, Trump fought back with tariffs, a blunt instrument in a complex global economy. The goal forced countries to buy more American goods and bring manufacturing jobs home. But the global economy isn't a simple match, it's a tangled web. Pull one string, and everything shakes. Trump's tariffs didn't just target one country or industry, they triggered a worldwide chain reaction. Countries scrambled to respond, businesses had to adapt, and ordinary people started feeling the pinch. What began as a plan to protect American interests quickly became a story of chaos and uncertainty. Tariffs became a centerpiece of Trump's foreign policy, turning stable trade relationships into battlegrounds. Allies and rivals alike now face a world where the old rules no longer apply. When you start a trade war, you can't always control the fallout, or who gets caught in the crossfire. And as we'll see, the consequences have been far-reaching. Let's look at a prime example: India. The Trump administration slapped a massive 50% tariff on Indian goods, punishment for India's continued oil purchases from Russia. This wasn't a minor dispute, it was a dramatic economic blow. Indian businesses, from textiles to software, suddenly saw their products become 50% more expensive in the US. Imagine running a small business in India. Overnight, your American market vanishes. Thousands of companies face this harsh new reality, all because of a decision in Washington. The message from the US was clear: play by our rules or pay the price. This wasn't negotiation, it was an ultimatum, putting immense pressure on India to change its foreign policy. The move turned a trade issue into a diplomatic standoff, straining the world's two largest democracies. Trump's America First policy showed a willingness to use economic weapons even against allies. The 50% tariff on India is a perfect example of this aggressive unilateral approach. But actions like this don't happen in a vacuum. When you hit a country as big as India with such a tariff, you can expect a response. The relationship between the US and India is now under serious strain. This is the new reality: economic pressure as a tool of foreign policy. And the ripple effects are just beginning. Let's see how India responded. India didn't take the tariff quietly. Unofficially, India considered pausing billions in planned US weapons purchases, a major threat since India is a top arms importer. The government denied it, but the message was clear: hurt our economy, and we'll hurt your defense industry. This standoff put India in a tough spot. Tariffs were hurting its businesses, but it still needed US military tech. India had to balance economic pain with strategic needs, caught between a rock and a hard place. Some defense deals stalled, but intelligence cooperation continued, showing both sides valued the partnership. Still, trust was damaged. India is now more cautious, knowing a trade penalty could come at any moment. The uncertainty has become the new normal. The episode exposed cracks in the US-India relationship. Both countries are now wary, and the future of their partnership is less certain. This is the cost of weaponizing trade. Trump's tariff strategy set off a global domino effect. Countries scrambled to protect themselves as the old rules of trade were rewritten. Mexico, for example, imposed new taxes on Chinese goods to align with the US and avoid becoming a target. The European Union took a different tack, speeding up plans to remove tariffs on US industrial goods, an attempt to de-escalate tensions. Some countries retaliated, others tried to make peace. The result? Chaos and fragmentation. Canada worked to align with the US under a new trade agreement, hoping to keep access to the American market. The world is now a patchwork of new trade blocs, alliances, and rivalries. Decades of progress toward integrated economies are reversing. The global trading system is splintering, with each country scrambling to secure its own interests. This is a historic shift driven by the aggressive use of tariffs. The world of trade is now more complicated, confrontational, and uncertain. No one knows what the next move will be. The only certainty is instability. The ripple effects are everywhere, and the consequences are just beginning to unfold. Tariffs were meant to help the US economy, but the reality has been very different. American businesses now face higher costs for imported goods and materials. Major retailers and medical companies warn that tariffs are driving up expenses. They must either absorb the costs or pass them on to customers as higher prices. The end of the de minimis rule means more small packages from abroad are taxed, making online shopping pricier and slower. American consumers are feeling the pinch. Those cheap overseas gadgets aren't so cheap anymore. Farmers have been hit especially hard, as other countries retaliate with tariffs on U.S. agricultural products. Markets for soybeans, pork, and more have dried up, leaving farmers with falling incomes and rising debt. The Federal Reserve has warned that tariffs are fueling inflation and hurting economic stability. Higher prices for everything from washing machines to groceries are squeezing everyone's budget. The policy meant to protect American jobs is backfiring, hurting businesses, shoppers, and farmers alike. It's a self-inflicted wound that keeps getting deeper. The pain is widespread and growing. The question now, how much more can the economy take? The answer isn't reassuring. For decades, companies built global supply chains to maximize efficiency and cut costs. Tariffs have thrown these systems into chaos, making established supply routes suddenly expensive. Businesses are scrambling to move operations out of tariff-hit countries, seeking alternatives in Vietnam, Mexico, and beyond. This great unscrambling is costly and disruptive. New factories, new logistics, new risks. The constant threat of new tariffs makes long-term planning nearly impossible. Companies hesitate to invest, fearing they'll be the next target. The end of the de minimis exemption has slowed global e-commerce, adding delays and costs. The result? Slower shipping, higher prices, and a fractured global marketplace. The systems that powered the world economy for a generation are breaking down. The uncertainty is paralyzing business and stalling growth. Amid the chaos, trade negotiations with China, Canada, and Japan drag on, slow, tense, and overshadowed by tariff threats. It's hard to strike a deal when one side wields a giant economic hammer. Meanwhile, American businesses are suing the administration, arguing the tariffs are illegal. If courts rule against the tariffs, some could be rolled back, adding another layer of uncertainty. The Federal Reserve keeps warning, trade uncertainty is hurting business confidence and investment. When companies are afraid to invest, economic growth slows for everyone. The result is a three-ring circus: unpredictable trade talks, ongoing legal battles, and dire warnings from the Fed. Businesses can't plan, allies can't trust, and consumers pay the price. There's no clear end in sight, just a saga of conflict and instability. The global economy is on edge, waiting for the next move. Every day brings new uncertainty. The only constant is chaos, and the stakes keep rising. The impact of tariffs goes far beyond economics. It's reshaping America's global relationships. Punishing India for buying Russian oil has created deep resentment, undermining years of partnership building. This pattern repeats worldwide. Allies feel betrayed, rivals see opportunity. By acting unilaterally, the U.S. is weakening the very institutions that kept global trade stable. The World Trade Organization and other post-war systems are being sidelined. The world is shifting from cooperation to confrontation. Trade wars are eroding trust and pushing countries to seek new alliances. Ironically, punishing India may push it closer to Russia, the opposite of America's goal. The long-term fallout, a more fragmented, unstable world order. America is becoming more isolated, and trust is evaporating. The damage to international diplomacy may outlast any economic gains. This is the true legacy of the tariff strategy. So where are we now? The rules of global trade are in disarray. Trump's tariff strategy meant to protect America has unleashed global instability. The 50% tariff on India was just one spark in a much larger fire. Businesses, consumers, and entire economies are feeling the fallout. Alliances are strained, supply chains are broken, and trust is fading. Trade has become a weapon, not a source of mutual benefit. The world is more fragmented and unpredictable than ever. This is a cautionary tale. Simple solutions to complex problems often create bigger problems. The global economy is a delicate ecosystem, now under severe stress. The final outcome is unknown, but one thing is clear: the world is on edge and the turbulence is far from over.